What happened to hip hop, and how did it turn into what it is, and what does it mean? For me, as I get older, one thing I think of is just losing in touch with trying not to be so stuck in my own perceptions of what I thought was the greatest thing. It was the Red Alert show, which had KRS-One on it. There was Plug Tuning De La Soul was one of the songs that really broke down some of my resistance when I just heard the intellect, and I realized what was happening. You know, I stepped back and checked out Jungle Brothers, Straight Out the Jungle, you know, and I had always been a video music box fan, kind of in secret, you know, closet hip-hop fan, where I was checking stuff out and I was enjoying it. You know, I loved the message, and there was just a lot of good songs and beat-oriented stuff that was coming out of video music box that I was watching. So I was pretty much hooked on that show even before I had really given over to hip-hop as my primary music. I was still very, very invested in being a metalhead and living a metalhead lifestyle. And one of the big entry points for me was reggae music, and I was able to I was more into the reggae because of the machine gun staccato and the dancehall raga music that really was carrying home a lot of the same power and sentiments that I was getting from the loud rock music. But the development came so strong. Like I said, it was the Red Alert show that really brought a lot of that home. I remember people playing tapes from that, and just the way the mix was done, it was just out of control. It was song after song after song. If anything, the only thing that was you were left hungry because you couldn't hear complete tracks. A lot of times you would just jump from track to track. And when I've seen BDP or KRS-One as a solo artist, that was one of the disappointments that I felt seeing him, was that he would run through his whole repertoire. But I mean, literally, he would spend 30, 40 seconds on a song, on a classic, and I'm not just there for the hooks. I want to hear the verses. So, and I want to hear. I mean, I'm not saying I want to hear the whole thing, everything, but I'm not looking for that smorgasbord approach, and that was a letdown to go to shows and get treated to that hold up, wait a minute, rewind, the sound selector dance hall style. It can get a little tired when it's just like and then sometimes they'll do the same piece twice, and so I've been dealing with disappointment with some of my hip hop heroes all my life. I mean, it's hard to say, like the disappearance of Chuck D, if he disappeared because of lack of ability to sustain out of his own, or was it because the media just shitted on him? Or KRS-One too, and how he evolved and trying to stay current and all that. Even if you look at Rakim, he just he disappeared, and then he came back and he was different. Everyone morphed. And some of the people that I really like, that I think are trendsetters, are also were part of that morphing from the classic, which you're referring to as mid 90s, early 90s, late 80s. Primarily I was feeling East Coast. I was vested in the East Coast rap scene. And it didn't all have to be political or conscious. A lot of it was just fun. I mean, the West Coast, they were making a lot of fun records, and there were also a lot of the really good stuff in the West Coast, like the stuff that came later, like The Far Side or Freestyle Fellowship, or now you have Jurassic holding the mantle for that type of music. And that's not talking about the underground, like now we have to look at things like Living Legends. And the rhymes that were coming out were great, and it wasn't necessarily like they were going to take you away with a message, but they were demonstrating skill, and that's the other aspect of hip hop that you want to hear is all right, you're not going to take me through the whole stream. I mean, my hands down favorite rapper's Paris, Devil Made Me Do It, and Scarface groove stuff. the first 3 Paris albums. And if you listen to later Paris, I mean, he's kind of in and out. I mean, Gorilla Funk was the slip, the slide for him in terms of quality content. He was taken up by the whole Dr. Dre Chronic thing, and just turned into, you know, this G-Funk stuff, you know, Gorilla Funk, whatever. When Unleashed came out, I was just like, all right, you know, it's over. And he's dropped albums since then, and I'll pick it up just because I just love to hear that man rhyme. And you know, I know after 9/11 he did some pretty heavy stuff. So, you know, I give that man a lot of props, and he's an absolute hero. But, you know, I think that's part of growing up too, is seeing how human your heroes are in whatever vein that they run through, and that they're people just like you, and they're going to disappoint, they're going to excite, they're going to energize, they're going to have peaks, they're going to have valleys, and that's what it makes me think of when I was doing the Utah Phillips stream and thoughts, when he said, be careful who you call a hero, wait till they're dead so they don't screw it up. And I think that that's true, and I think that that's what we have to have, a very real human context of when we put these people on the pedestal. And the other thing is that hip-hop is not dead. It's very much alive. It has, you know, the top quality stuff has dropped out of the mainstream. It's true. The underground is alive and well, as it's too is being co-opted. I mean, what you do is you're getting a good thing, but this is the way capitalism works. It co-ops the real, and the real gets torn down. You know, and the young gets old and affected, and idealism gets broken down, and if you don't have a really strong base, you're going to lose it. You know, a lot of it I let rest. I mean, I listened to the new Nas joint, and, you know, I enjoyed it, you know, but I don't bump hip-hop the way I used to. And that's maybe my own personal evolution. I've evolved away from the music as the music's evolved away from me. You know, it's like we're you know, estranged lovers. And the thing, though, about hip-hop is that once it gets in your soul and once it gets in your mind, you know, the true heads are lifers in this game, and will always be that, you know, and it becomes part of our essence. It becomes part of, you know, the social makeup of my being. It is hip-hop, you know, and that's why I don't need to make the hand mannerisms or talk in the slang or break things down in a level of buffoonery. You know, my thrust is much more about being real, the real, you know, and I'm not going to sit here and put on a costume to represent hip-hop to what you expect to see from it. And true heads understand this, and we can build on it, and we can keep moving it to the next level. And that's the beauty of it, is that it's not stagnant, it's not stifled. It's true art, and that we can pick up that mantle at any time. I mean, like Dead Prez, I mean, they absolutely kill it on the conscious stuff. I mean, after Paris, all we had is, you know, Dead Prez on the revolutionary tip, and they hung tight on the gangster stuff, you know. And then there's the other thing, is the dichotomy between even a lot of the hardcore conscious rappers. What were they doing and saying in public? I mean, KRS-One is a public speaker. I mean, there's been times where he's been absolutely brilliant, and then there's other times where he's let me down, you know. You know, I get let down by a lot of MCs that I put up there. Killer Priest came out of the, you know, the Sons of Man Wu-Tang clique. His first album is absolutely fire. And then he did the Views from Masada, and it was just like, okay, he's on the G-tip, you know. And a lot of the revolutionary and game point rappers just, you know, is hard to sustain. So you really have to stick with where it's tight, when it's saying things, and you know, when the message is strongest, because we all waver as human beings and as an art form, and there's a lot of external forces that are creating this system, that are making things go in and out of the quality that we expect, and that we crave, that we have this hunger for, that, you know, that I think a lot of the young heads out here are not educated on. I mean, I've seen it happen through graffiti, where the new kids came in and they didn't really understand the forms, and they just, you know, as the skill. This is one of the things I noticed with a lot of hip hop, and you see it now, because a lot of the skills of the rhymers are point. I mean, the flows that they're throwing and the way that they flip it is nice, you know. It's the content that's bringing tears to a man's eye. You know, I don't want to blame the youth and or you know, poo-poo on anyone's parade. I just want to see elevation. You know, we can always look to the higher and always bring things up a notch and always tighten up our game. And that's what I see with these masters, these elder statements, you know, that rule the roost, and I'll always look up to, even through disappointment and hurt. And it's not blasphemy to use your mind and critically think and say how you feel. And that makes you a free thinker, and that makes you a mind spirit. And, you know, people have to recognize that.